Recently, I have got the chance to collaborate with one of the biggest documentary channels on YouTube called The Second Thoughts. And in the latest video, I have created this one animation that everyone loved, and they were asking me to create a tutorial on it, and here it is. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that I can create more videos like this. And yes, let's get straight into it. Okay, the first thing which we are going to do is actually gather the assets for the scene right now. And first we are going to do is we are going to go to Canva and actually go to the Elements tab and then write in the name of the required assets which you need for the scene. So first, as I needed a Polaroid frame, so I actually wrote in Polaroid frame, and then I got some bunch of pictures which I can use right now for the video. Similarly, for the background, you can search something like a wall background, a dark wall background. And here you can see in the photo section, you can get some suggestions right now here, which you can definitely use in the scene. So this is something which I'll be going to be using right now. Now as I need a corkboard, so I'll be getting something for that as well. And I think this will suit well. So next right now, if you guys want to actually download this PNGs, what you should be doing is actually go to the download section, click the download button. The next step, select the file type as PNG, not JPG, as you will get the best possible quality. Next is select the transparent background. Then after that, select the download button. Okay, once we have got all the assets, like you can currently see that I have also got some more assets for the details and stuff. So I'll be showing the prompts which I use on Canva to get these pictures, so that you guys can do the same as well. And as well as the project file, in the project file you guys can directly access to all these assets, so that will be available as well. So let's now set up all these assets into their actual positions so that we can set up the scene. So what I'm going to do is quickly I'm going to be renaming these layers so that it will be easier for us to actually verify what we're actually working on. Okay, now once we have renamed all these, now it will be easier for us to actually get to know what we're working on. So let me quickly fix the size of this. So I'm going to be increasing the scale of this right now to this so that it actually fits onto the screen. Okay, I think actually I adjusted it a bit larger, so I'm going to be lowering. No, I think it's fine. Okay, that's that. Now next up is the board. Let me just add that. Okay, that looks good. Next up we can set up the compass, something on the right side. The best these things are really important because these details are actually the reason why our videos actually get really interesting and really good to watch. And on the side part here behind the board, what we can do is actually add the paper here. This looks good. And for this history map also, I'm going to be putting it behind the board at this part, so that this looks good as well. Okay, right now I think it looks really good. And okay, what I'm going to do also is going to be quickly making all the space and all these assets into 3D layers, so that later on when we'll be actually making these 3D animations and movements, it will be easier for us to manage. And let me quickly right now just set up the pin right now on the Polaroid itself perfectly so that it looks really good. Let me just adjust its scale and position, and I think that, yep, that looks perfect to me. Just a little bit on the position, and yep, that is good, well and good. As we need 3 frames for all the empires, the British Empire, the Spanish and the US Empire, so we will be needing 3 Polaroid frames and the pins. But before that, I'll be adding the pictures onto the Polaroid frames for all the respective empires. So first of all, I'm going to do that. Okay, I got the 3 pictures which I can definitely use for all this Polaroid, and I've searched them on Google itself. So yeah, you guys can definitely use the pictures according to your own sense. So now what we're going to do is actually create the duplicate of Polaroid. Before that, we'll be going to be creating a shape layer so that we can add images, these images into the Polaroids. So let me just quickly do that. Okay, and turning on the fill of the Polaroid, fill of the shape layer, and yep, this looks good because in this space itself our picture will be visible. So now once we have done this, let us quickly just create so let's just quickly create 2 more duplicates of this Polaroid and this shape layer. So how to do that? So duplicate, what we're going to do is actually select the Polaroid frame, the pin and the shape layer, and then press Ctrl D so that you can duplicate it. And yeah, here you guys can see we have created a duplicate Polaroid frame, and again we are going to be pressing the same thing so that we can create the 3rd duplicate for the 3rd picture. Okay, this looks really good now. Perfect. Now we're going to be adjusting the pictures into all these Polaroids. So first we're going to be doing is for the Spanish Empire. So what we're going to do is actually select the picture, which is this one. So let me just quickly rename these. Okay, now once we have got the pictures renamed, now what I'm going to do is select this nomad button on the track mat area. So if you guys cannot access it, what you guys need to do is actually go to this button, and currently it's collapsed, so I'm going to be pressing it again so that you guys can see, so that you guys can actually get access to this track mat option. So once that is done, currently this is a Spanish Empire picture which we actually need to add into the Polaroid. So I'm going to be pressing the nomad and actually select the shape layer one, not the one but the third shape layer, because the third shape layer is actually is on the first Polaroid which we actually need. So let's do that quickly. And currently you guys can see our picture is actually behind the Polaroid layer, so that is why we cannot see it currently. And let's just quickly adjust it, and I think that looks well and good for me. Yep, you guys can see looks good. Just a few things which we can adjust, and that can be the size of the frame itself. And we're doing this, and I think that looks good. Yep, a really good fit right now. Similarly, now I'm going to be adding the British and the US Empire as well. Currently first the British Empire, again selecting the track mat, and our shape layer is actually this first one here this time. So selecting the shape layer 1. Okay, my mistake, the shape layer is actually selected. I'm trying to select the British picture, and that is it. We have adjusted that as well. And quickly going to be adjusting a little bit the shape layer, because the track mat is actually, now this is adjusted. Now similarly for the US Empire, I'm going to be just keeping it over the Polaroid frame layers, and actually then selecting the shape layer 2. Okay, shape layer 2. There we go. Okay, let's quickly get our picture and just adjust the size of it. Okay, that looks good to me. In my opinion, that looks fine. Good, just adjusting the shape layer, and yes, that looks good enough. So now what we're going to do is actually I'm going to be also writing down text onto the Polaroid so that we can identify them. Currently here right now I can write the text of Spanish Empire or Spain itself above the frames. Okay, just need to adjust the font size, so this will be fine, and let's change the font to relax and relax bold. So these fonts can be available on websites such as thefont.com, and you guys can download it, and once you guys can actually get the project file, you can also get the access to it as well by getting the project file. Now similarly we are going to be adding Spain here. Now similarly adding British and US onto these Polaroids. Okay, now that's done. This is currently how our Polaroids are looking like. So what we're going to do is actually we're currently having a lot of layers for this Polaroid. So what I'm going to do is creating pre-compositions for all these selected Polaroids. So first I'm going to be creating the pre-comp for the first Polaroid. So let us just quickly identify it. 1 second. Okay, it's not this one. Okay, it's this one, first one. Let me just rename all these as well. So rename the Polaroids to P1, P2 and P3. So currently rename the Polaroids to P1, P2 and P3. Now let's select the first Polaroid, which is the Spain Polaroid. So first we're going to be selecting the shape layer adjacent to the Polaroid. First is this shape layer. Next is the pin number, which is pin number 3, shape number 3, Spanish picture, Spanish text, and the Polaroid 1. So pre-compose this and rename it as Polaroid 1, And similarly we're going to be doing this for this other two British and USA Polaroid as well. Okay, we have currently created all the three pre-composition of the Polaroids. You can clearly see that we can easily now move all these Polaroids and adjust them onto the position which we want them to be. So let's quickly just do that first, and let's see how we actually do it, and also make them all 3D so we can adjust them. So first is a Polaroid for the Spain frame. Just quickly press the R button so that you can actually adjust the rotation of the frame. So I'm going to be keeping something like this so that it looks good, and we're going to be adjusting the second with the British Polaroid frame. At this point, just adjusting the Spain Polaroid a little bit right down on this place, and then adjusting the USA one just like that, selecting the Z-axis because the Z-axis will actually control the Z-axis rotation, and the Y-axis will actually control the Y-axis rotation, which we currently not need, and as well the X-axis will do the X-axis rotation. So we're going to be putting these on zeros because that's something we currently not need. And yes, this is how currently our scene looks like. It looks really good. And currently what we're going to do next is actually adding lights into this. So to add lights, what you need to do is actually just right click onto your competitions, go to new, and then select lights, and then from here select the spotlight, which the settings which are already given to you by default, and then press OK. Okay, currently you can see that you have been provided a light, and all the whole scene is actually has been dark. And one thing you need to remember is that to actually make this light spotlight actually usable, you have to have a 3D layer, and all these layers have to be 3D. Let's suppose we do not have a 3D layer, then that light will not have access to that layer itself. So that's why keeping all these layers into 3D frame is very important. So let us just quickly adjust the position as well as the intensity of the light. So let me just do that quickly. Let me just use this and use this. Now let me just use this XYZ position ball so that I can quickly move it all around. I can also set the active camera to custom view 1 so I can adjust the position and as well as look at the light from 3D view. So I can adjust it a little bit quickly. I think this looks right now good for us on this position, so that it looks like an actual light is actually being put on the screen. And what I'm going to do is actually create another light by just pressing Ctrl D. Okay, yes, you guys can clearly see it looks a lot bright right now. But this is so I can also add lights on the other side. Just quickly rotate it a bit to this side. Just adjust the rotations and stuff. Pressing R, I'm going to be adjusting a little bit more. Just quickly see our active view. This is currently how it looks like. Currently, definitely to make some changes and add some depth onto it. This is currently how it looks like. Adjusting a little bit more rotation and stuff so that we can get that good realistic look. These details are the reason why our videos get popped, and which helps in making the videos look really good. So I think this looks really fine to me. So this is the settings which I am going to be actually just keeping right now. I think it looks really good. So yeah, definitely without the lights you guys can clearly see it would look like this, and with the light it looks a bit more professional. So this is something definitely you guys can definitely add onto your videos as well. So currently I just adjusted the position of the light more so it looks a lot more realistic, so that we can have a dark type of theme all around to the animation. So this is currently how our animation looks like. So next up what I'm going to do is actually use shape layer to add more details. So to do that, what I'm going to do is select the pen tool, and then just create shape layer and create these dots on these polarites. So creating like this will actually make them a whole new layer, and then actually make the fill option into none, and then select the stroke option, and I'm going to be selecting red layer so that they can be all aligned together like this on this format. Let me just keep them behind the polarites like this, and also of course make it 3D, and then actually change its blend mode from normal to multiply, so that it looks like it's actually written on the cork board itself. So currently this is how it looks like, and it's really nice and smooth, and definitely it looks really realistic. Our scene looks really nice. Definitely it looks really good. Now what we're going to do is actually add text onto the video according to the voiceover. So let's just quickly listen to the voiceover.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself trying to hold on to its expansive empire. And now...
Okay, so what we're going to do is actually add text for the Spain part. So currently I have the script, that's why I'm actually copying it. If you guys have currently the project file, you guys can directly access it and directly write this text itself on your screens. The font which I'm going to be actually using is actually it's really hard to spell actually. Neo has Grotex Display Pro, and going to be selecting as medium 65, and going to be actually changing its color to white so it can be actually more visible, and straight up going to be making it 3D. And yes, this looks really good. Just adjusting the space between the lines, you can do that from this tab itself. And I'm going to be increasing the size of the current of 4 so that the text could look more prominent and really nice to watch. And yeah, this is currently how I'm going to be adjusting the text. And also I'm going to be left aligning it really like this, and maybe we can experiment with the blend mode and stuff. Let's just make it multiply. No, definitely it does not look good, and it's actually has become invisible. So we're just going to be keeping it as normal. Back again. Okay, once that is done, now what I'm going to do is just go to Canva and get something for the text itself. So as in the text it was mentioned about silver, I actually got image of silver, which can be helpful for us to add more details, and I'm going to be adjusting it here and just adding it here itself. And next up what I'm going to do is actually creating another shape layer around the text itself, and we can adjust the size of the shape layer into 1.7, and then make the color into dark green or something. Okay, this looks good. Press the OK, keep the shape layer behind the text layer, and then make all these into 3D layers. And then what I'm going to do is actually here I'm going to be changing the blend mode to multiply. Yep, this is what I'm going to doing, and this is how it looks like. So what I'm going to do is just quickly animating the text. For animating text, I'm actually going to be using a plugin. So to do that is I'm going to be actually going to my Window tab and using Animation Composer. It is a free plugin that is actually provided by Mr. Host, which you guys can definitely check out. And I'll be actually putting the link on the description of the video so that you guys can check out as well. And yes, let's go to the starter presets and let's select text layers. And here you have definitely a lot of options and animations which you can add on to the text. And I'm going to be selecting character 2 and animate in. So here it is. We have
Spain spent its silver on
set. Okay, we're going to be you can adjust the speed of the animation by
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it could. Spain spent its silver on military.
Okay, this looks good. Now we're going to be just adjusting the trim path of the shape layer so that we can animate it as well. But pressing the end button, you can actually adjust the size of the trim path, and currently I have actually made it to 0%. So we're going to be adjusting the keyframe and just actually making it from 0%, or it should be 0 at the very start because the start should not be displayed. And then at this point what we can do is actually make it to 100%. So this is how currently it should show, or it looks like. So to make it more smooth, what I'm going to do is selecting the keyframes and pressing the F9 button so that these keyframes can be more smoother and then go to the graph editor and then make the graph look something like this, so that we can speed up the animation of the
Spain spent its silver
part.
on
And this is
military
something
campaigns.
how it looks like. We're going to be adding also the motion blur so that we can make it even more smoother. So
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns.
okay, our text and trim path have been animated, but our silver coins is yet to be animated. So what I'm going to do is just quickly make a small animation by selecting P for position, selecting T for opacity, and then selecting U to check out all the keyframes of that selected layer. So currently, as it is visible, what I'm going to do is just adjust the visible keyframes a little further and make the position just go from here and the opacity to 0. I'm currently doing the same things, pressing F9, making the animations and keyframes a bit faster.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns.
Perfect.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself trying to hold on to its expansive empire. And now, the US is burning through resources apparently trying to speedrun the apocalypse.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually quickly add the text and the pictures for both the British as well as the US empire. Okay, I quickly added the animation for all the respective British Empire as well as the US Empire. So you guys can currently see it. This is how currently our animation looks like. I've added the Spain animation onto these texts as well, which I added on the Spain text animation. So you guys can do it yourself as well. So what I'm going to do next up is actually make the camera movements now. To do that, what I'm going to do is actually just go to your composition and go to new, create a new camera. Okay, once you get the default settings, just select the OK button. And you can just keep the camera right above this, and what I'm going to do is actually create another new layer and select a null object. Okay, create the camera and parent it to the null object. Okay, once its parent is actually null, now what we're going to do is actually add the animations here. First, we're going to be adding a zoom in animation. So just go to the position keyframe and select this 3D layer for the null as well, so that you can also create zoom in and zoom out animations. So first select the position keyframe, and once it moves to the Spain part, what I'm going to do is actually animate it towards the text itself. So this z-axis part can actually help in zooming out and zooming in to the scene. So we're going to be adjusting this a little bit here. Okay, this is how it looks like. Currently positioning it like this. Okay, for the British part, we're going to be adjusting it like this. And when the US part is shown up, going to be adjusting it like this. Okay, now once we have actually got all our keyframes set, we're going to be selecting all the keyframes, pressing the F9 button, and then going to the graph editor, and like always we're going to be speeding up the keyframes. Okay, this is currently how our scene looks like. Let me just quickly show you a recap.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself trying to hold on to its expansive empire. And now, the US is burning through resources apparently trying to speedrun the apocalypse.
Okay, it looks really, really, really good. So currently some more details can be added. What I'm going to do is actually go to the position and select Alt onto the stopwatch. And what I'm going to do is actually write in wiggle here. So what this is going to actually do is create that camera type feeling and a little bit wiggle onto your animation and feel like that you are actually seeing the camera move real time itself. Okay, currently you can see again a quick recap right now.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford.
You guys can clearly see the little movement of up and down, right and left. So that scene will definitely add a lot more details into the scene. So this is something which you guys can definitely do as well in your videos. So currently next up what I'm going to do is actually definitely the most important part of the video, which is the make or break part, which is actually adding the adjustment layers. So right now I'm going to show you how I actually do it to make the scene look a lot more better. But first what we're going to do is actually create a pre-composition for all this, so that we are because already done with the scene, making animations of the scene. Now all we need to actually adjust some create some adjustment layers. So first we're going to be adding a new adjustment layer. Okay, the first effect which I'm going to be adding is actually going to be CC vignette. So let me just quickly type in and actually add CC vignette. Okay, so now what I'm actually going to do is actually create a mask onto the adjustment layer. So how to do that is actually select the layer and select the shape tool, and here I'm going to be selecting the rectangle tool and just create quickly a mask just like this, so that we can add, okay, adjust it like this. Okay, that looks good to me. And make it inverted because we want the vignette to be on in the top and bottom sides only, not on the left and right side. So that's why I'm creating this mask. And then just feather in the mask a bit. And next up what I'm going to do is actually go to effects again and actually add exposure effect. And what I'm going to do is actually, okay, you guys can see what I'm actually going to try. I'm actually going to be trying to create a wiggle effect onto the exposure itself. So again, pressing the Alt button next to the stopwatch, here you will get the expressions bar, and here I'm going to be again selecting wiggle 4, 0 point. I think 3 will be good enough.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself.
You can see that definitely the wiggle is there, but the exposure is already a bit less. So I'm going to be adjusting it.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself trying to hold on to its expansive empire. And now, the US is burning through.
So now next I'm going to be creating another adjustment layer, and this time I'm going to be adding an effect called VR Chroming Aberrations. So what this does is actually create a VR type effect onto the video, and this time I'm going to be actually adjusting the settings of it. So this is a setting which I have currently used to add onto the scene, which you guys can definitely see. This same definitely will be available in the project file, which you guys can access for free in the description of the video, so that you guys can copy as well. Now I'm going to be adding another adjustment layer, and this time it's going to be definitely the posterized time effect. So let me just quickly add the posterized time effect to a layer and set it to from 24 to 16. Okay, to give that a more smoother look. And now next what I'm going to be also adding is going to be adding a grain effect. So to do that, what I'm going to do is create another adjustment layer and then go to effects and then select noise effect here. So add that and make it around 10%. Well, currently you guys can see actually how our scene looks like. So
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself trying to hold on to its expansive empire. And now, the US is burning through resources apparently trying to speedrun the apocalypse.
and this is how actually our scene looked before adding the adjustment layers.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself trying to hold on to its expansive empire. And now, the US is burning through resources apparently trying to speedrun the apocalypse.
So definitely you guys can see there's a whole lot of difference just by adding 4 adjustment layers onto the video, and definitely we added more details on. So what I'm going to do is actually just add the final adjustment layer. You guys will be thinking that I have just created a lot of effects, but yeah, this final adjustment layer is going to be lumetri color, so we can adjust and add more lights and more colors onto the video. So just adjusting it quickly. So this is currently the settings which I use for the lumetri colors. You guys can definitely see I have currently made a lot of changes, so that it looks a lot more better. I have added the contrast and highlights so that it looks a lot more realistic and a lot more fun to watch. So currently this is how our scene finally looks like.
Spain spent its silver on military campaigns it couldn't afford. Britain exhausted itself trying to hold on to its expansive empire. And now, the US is burning through resources apparently trying to speedrun the apocalypse.
Okay, so this is the end of our animation. So yeah, definitely if you guys have enjoyed the video, you guys have definitely found it valuable, please don't forget to like and subscribe to it so that I can create more videos like this. And definitely the project file will be available in the description of the video. And yes, if you like to see another tutorial similarly where I have given another project file giveaway, definitely you guys can click on the video which you guys can see on the screen right now. And yes, it will take you to another tutorial which I have made, which people have loved. And yeah, definitely thank you so much for taking out the time to watch the video. And yes, take care of yourself and goodbye.